It is only this inner restriction that reflects itself in those unbearable tortures of barzakh, in the raging pits of hell. Someone quoted a few months ago that Bahlol was approached by the Abbasid Caliph, and he said, Bahlol, where do you come from? He said, I come from the pits of hell. He said, how did you find them? He said, they were empty of fire. He said, how is that? He said, well, I asked the inmates of hell, where is the fire? Where is the raging fire? And they said to me, there is no fire here. And I said, well, what of the descriptions of the Quran? And they stated, everyone who comes here brings their own fire. Otherwise, the pits of hell have no fire. We are the creators of our own paradise, and we are the creators of our own pits of hell. Think about it. If I am so stagnated from within myself, this is what I like, this is what I dislike, the pride that I have, the ego that I have, that does not allow me to humble myself towards Allah and towards receiving growth. This in itself reflects in itself in snakes, scorpions, serpents, fire. Have you not seen, and I'm sure we all recall those instances, when we are filled with jealousy, how we burn, how we lose our sleep? Have we not seen that? If that jealousy could express itself, it will be no less than the raging pits of hell. Have we not seen from ourselves that when we have an opponent, how we want to defeat the opponent, whether that intellectual opponent or whether they are in an election or somebody with a contrary view, or somebody who is a better orator, so on and so forth. Have we not seen how we wish to defeat them? If these things could truly manifest themselves, they would be no less than the pits of hell. Have we not seen our greed and the extent of our greed? And on the other hand, have we not experienced when we become charitable, when we become noble from within, when we become forgiving and tolerant, how the world changes totally? Allahu Akbar. The whole of this story is one of me and one of you. There is nothing beyond that. We make this world garden of roses, and we make it into the raging pits of hell. Now, before we conclude, there's one point I need to make, and then we need to make, and then continue from there tomorrow. When we talk of spirituality, as we have said, it is all to do with me recognizing myself. And here we come to that epic statement of the Prophet, Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. All Sufi masters, all Arafa, all philosophers quote this. However, what is understood from this hadith may not be accurate. The translation is, he who knows his soul knows his Lord, and the implication in our minds is that he who knows his self knows Allah, which is totally false. The Prophet did not say, Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa Allah. He did not say that. He said, Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. He who knows his soul knows his Lord. Ibn Arabi sat in the company of man, and he stated to them, your Lord is beneath my feet. They threw stones at him and they chased him away. And then there was a man endowed with wisdom, and he stated, such a great man would not utter such vain words. So he began to dig at the place where Ibn Arabi sat. And what did he uncover? He uncovered a treasure trove. And he said, this is what Sheikh meant, that your Lord is beneath my feet. Your Lord is gold and silver and the wealth of this world. There is relativity in this statement. My Lord is not the Lord of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one's Lord is another's Lord. There's a beauty in this statement. And Allah explains this in the Quran. And He states, وَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا. When Moses came to meet with us, قَالَ رَبِّي أَرَنِي أَنظُرْ إِلَيْكَ. He said, my Lord, show me yourself so that I may see you. He said, my Lord. He did not say Allah. قَالَ لَن تَرَانِي. You will not see me. But look at that mountain. When he looked at that mountain, his Lord, Allah says, Tajalla Rabbuhu, his Lord. Allah does not say, I looked at the mountain, we looked at the mountain, or Allah looked at the mountain. Allah only says, his Lord. Musa's Lord looked at the mountain. Be attentive to the beautiful language of the Quran and analyze it with that minute detail, and such meanings will be revealed that have not been encountered yet. His Lord looked at the mountain, and the mountain crumbled, and Moses fell unconscious. When he regained his awareness, he said, "Oh Allah, I am a believer." Does that mean that Moses wasn't a believer before this point? Imam Khomeini states, he said that mountain was Moses' ego. You can be ulul azam amongst the prophets and yet not arrive at point zero. It is that difficult. The crumbling of the mountain was the crumbling of Moses' personal identity as the prophet of ulul azam. Imagine, even that grand Moses, after delivering the Israelites in the presence of Allah, begins to crumble in the real sense and acquires a real growth. After that, Moses says, I believe in you. So this is the first awakening of Moses. This is the first birth, the real birth of Musa. And before that, he has done what? Split the Nile in two. Delivered the Israelites. After doing all of that, that is where Moses comes to the real point of destruction of his real self, the effacement of his I. But the point we are trying to make here is another. We are stating that Moses spoke to his Lord. And Allah states in the Quran, Kullun ya'mal ala shakilati. Everyone acts in accordance with their own form. Now here, we should know that no two individuals are the same. Everyone is different. Look at this world of existence. Do you find any two things identical? Do you? You will not find any two things identical. Individuality is the norm. Even if you look at two blades of grass that look exactly the same, they are differentiated by the difference of location. They are in two different locations, and their locations distinguish them, and they are two instead of one. The very fact that there is more than one shows distinction. The point that we are making here is, or trying to make here is, that on the one hand, Allah is so lofty. He is so lofty that nothing can capture him. By all rights, Allah should not have any time for any individual in this world. He is that grand. When I make a dua, Allah will say, do you know I am conducting the whole of this galaxy? Stand in a long queue, and maybe after Qiyamah I will listen to your dua. That's what we say, don't we? When we go to the presidents, they will say, look, there is a backlog of work. When they're all finished in a list of priority, Allah will say to us, well, if I don't look after the sun, there will be no life on earth. So the solar system precedes you. And we'll say to the sun, well, the Milky Way precedes you. And we'll say to the Milky Way, so on and so forth. He is so lofty. He is so grand. He is governing such a mammoth universe that my supplication should be answered after billion, trillion light years in list of priority. Yet, when I say, oh Allah, He comes running to me. Ud'uni astajib lakum. Call on to me and I shall respond to you. The way Allah has made everything is so brilliant that there may be everyone in this world. There may be 5.5 billion